I've got to say, sausage rolls aren't my favourite things. I much prefer a nice Cornish pasty, and they are extremely tempting whenever I go near one. But yes,
Oh, I think a decent Cornish pasty is much harder to find than a decent sausage roll. Actually, even in Cornwall, I find that they can be quite dodgy.
yeah, they are. They're variable, as we'll say. Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Recording, and we are recording uncharacteristically early for us this morning, aren't we?
Well, it's 7:15 on Wednesday morning. I've already been up since 5 because we spoke to Australia at 6 for our summit, which was fun, wasn't it?
It was, and I was so glad you could make it. I actually went to bed uncharacteristically early on a 21st birthday celebration yesterday. I, at one point, was actually shooing the teens. Well, they're not teens anymore, are they? At 21, shooing the lovely people out down the pub so that I could get to bed because I wasn't convinced. But I, like you, when I have an early morning, I was bright and awake at 5 o'clock. Bang, that was it.
Well, I thought, will she have another party at the weekend, or was Tuesday night the only one?
Oh no, her workmates are planning something on Monday, which I can't say out loud for fear of spoiling the surprise accidentally, just in case you listen to this. So let's hear about your week, Judith. What's it all been about for you this week?
Well, when I spoke to you last Wednesday, it was my birthday, if you remember, and I went off and the highlight of my birthday was a sausage roll.
What?
Well, there are two. There are gazillions of lovely food shops in London, and one of them is a butcher's called the Ginger Pig. And the Ginger Pig does a spectacular sausage roll, nothing like you've ever had from Greggs or Tesco's or anything like that. It's homemade pastry and homemade sausage meat. But I found an even better one in Gale's Bakery, which is a small chain across London, and it was so delicious. It came in its own greaseproof paper bag, and when I was on the South Circular driving home, I thought, that smells so good, I've got to eat it now. I can't even wait to get home. It was so good. And that was exciting. Now, over the weekend, which was a bank holiday, I had a sleepless night mentally packing and organising. This mild strain is beginning to get to me of the fact that I can't actually make any plans until exchange of contracts. Now I'm 3.5 weeks it'll be 4 weeks on Friday into the sales process, and all that's happened so far is a survey, which is not a bad thing. Survey and a lot of lawyers' correspondence, and what's going to happen is there'll come a date where it's like, bang, now we've got to move everything. So I was up until about 4 o'clock in the morning one day over the weekend. And the other sad thing I had to do over the weekend, and it was the second weekend running I've done it, is two of my very, very, very favourite people in the world. The husband's in hospital and the wife is under a lot of stress. So I had to nip up to... They live equidistant between St Thomas's Hospital and Guy's Hospital. And if you're going to be sick, that is the very place in England you would want to live, because it's equidistant between two of the finest health institutions in the world. Yeah. But they're slummy. Hospitals are horrible places. I hate them. I don't want to go. In fact, I don't think I can bring myself. If he's in there this weekend, I don't think I can go again. It's just too awful. And to see your friend, I mean, he's a towering intellect, and he has been brought low by what's happened to him. I know I cheer them both up by going, and I could see this weekend that the strain on his wife, I've been visiting for him, but I suddenly realised, I think I better visit for her, because the strain on her is visible, and these are two of my very favourite people in the world. So I'm sad even telling you the story. He's 70, which I know sounds old, but actually isn't old when you're 61. I feel young, and he looks young, and he is young in every way, and he has a cracking sense of humour and, as I've already said, a towering intellect. And to see a man brought low by illness, unexpected illness. Actually, it was complications that arose from elective surgery, i.e. he chose to have the first surgery. And it was something that I've got wrong with me as well. And he said, you want to have it too, Judith? And I went, under no circumstances will I go anywhere near any hospitals. And I was right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, how suddenly everything's come crashing in on being aware of all this stuff. I was swanning through life blissfully ignorant, and it's you start to think a lot more deeply when things like this start happening, don't you?
Well, we just had this conversation with James Schramko at 6 o'clock in the morning, which is what was important to him in the end was health.
Yeah. Interesting. So you're starting to think. So to come back to the packing thing. So it's going to be no news.
Until you have exchange of contracts, you don't know you're moving house.
Yeah, that's very unsettling, isn't it?
Well, I'm an organizer and a planner, and so I've got lists of things, but I can't actually do anything until that happens. Well, it depends. I mean, the woo-woo me would do it, but you don't really want to start getting rid of your possessions and then discover that the deal falls through. You've got to spend another 3 months here living even more skeletally than I do now. Yeah. So I'm okay about it, Nicola. It's just over the weekend I couldn't get to sleep because I was just thinking, I was just planning, really. My brain wouldn't go to sleep because it was planning the move.
Can I recommend a nice Australian podcast for you? That would have got you off to sleep.
Well, irony of ironies, I don't really listen to other podcasts. But anyway, tell me about your week. Let's get off my my upbeat news was my sausage roll, really, about my week. Tell me about yours.
I've got to say, sausage rolls aren't my favourite things. I much prefer a nice Cornish pasty, and they are extremely tempting whenever I go near one. But yeah,
I think a decent Cornish pasty is much harder to find than a decent sausage roll. Actually, even in Cornwall, I find that they can be quite dodgy.
Yeah, they are. They're variable, as we'll say. Well, I've had a really interesting experience. Somebody popped up last week and booked themselves into my diary, and then announced that they wanted me to build out their whole business for them. They've been trying to do it themselves for the last 10 years, and they're absolutely fed up with trying to piece it all together, and it's not their strength and their skill set. And I was, this is someone whose name would be familiar to you and has been around our events and mailing list for 10 years. I mean, she's taken the record for the longest time on the mailing list before taking action, and I wasn't absolutely convinced that this would go through, this deal. So she basically said, I want you to do it. I'm not talking to anyone else. I know you can do it. Name your price. And I did name my price, and she accepted with alacrity. That's a good word, isn't it?
If that isn't one's favourite terms and conditions for a deal, you're the one I want. Name your price.
Yeah, it was, and I'm not talking to anyone else, by the way. It was great. Yeah. And, I named a good price, a fair price, and one that made me happy, and it made her happy too, which was wonderful. And so the money duly arrived, and we started yesterday. And it was such a lovely thing to be able to say, don't worry, I've got it. Let's, you just concentrate on, because she used to be on television in her home country. So I'm very keen, obviously, to get her onto video, but she's feeling a little bit uncertain about that at the moment. So we're starting off with audio. And I got her to make her first anchor thing yesterday, which is where you can talk for up to 3 minutes. And it's a bit like Twitter for audio. And the best thing is I've taken her off to note down all the things that have happened to her in her life, and she talked for 3 minutes about each turning point and each realization and each thing that brought her to where she is now. So she's cracking on with creating content that we can then leverage, and we're cracking on with just putting the whole machine in place around her. And it's not really my core business, but it's a wonderful project for the next 6 months at least. And I'm really enjoying it, especially as I don't intend to do any of the work myself. I'm just doing the thinking and planning and making it all happen. So that's really, really exciting. It's really got me going. And at a time, my social media manager hasn't been very well for a while. So she's decided she's not going to continue doing social media because it's quite intense and hard work. So I'm rethinking my strategy on that. I'm pretty convinced that this person wouldn't have come to me if I hadn't been putting out a lot of great content recently. I leveraged bits of our podcast. Inga, who's just retired, has made it look great. And I'm pretty convinced that has added to my presence and reminded this person who signed up for my services that I'm there all the time. you can't quantify these things, but I'm gonna ask her actually. I mean, whether she still opens my emails or not, that will tell me, because if she doesn't open the emails anymore, in fact, I could go and look in my Infusionsoft and see if it was my email marketing and follow up, or if it was if it wasn't, then it must have been social media and just my name popping up all the time. It's an interesting question, isn't it, to ask yourself?
Yes, I think it would be useful to know the answer to that.
Yeah. But so that's going to prompt me to rethink, look at the social media bits and work out what I think is essential and what I want to keep focusing on, and then work out. And she's left me in a good situation. It's all detailed what she does on a daily, weekly basis in Trello, so I can just look at that and see which bits I want to hire someone else for, or indeed get Patricia to do bits, because my VA is extremely capable. So. Yeah.
When you just going back to your 10-year client, or your client that's been sniffing around for 10 years before, what is the words you would use to describe the task you have undertaken for her?
Well, it's called funnel building, basically, nowadays.
Okay.
I mean, Judy, it's nothing different to what we've been doing for the last 20 years. It's getting a good website up, creating content in whichever way is comfortable for you. In which case, she doesn't like to write. It'll be audio, then video, and I know that once we get her onto video, that'll be they're calling Facebook Live video the unicorn now. It's the one thing, and also Instagram. You can do a minute video on Instagram. Apparently, it makes your posts go absolutely bonkers. I've seen that myself with videos. She's got no mailing list, no following. Nothing. So I am starting from scratch, and it'll be a really, really useful case study. But it's funnel building, essentially, marketing funnel building.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Lovely. Thank you very much.
Don't get no need to details. Less detail is more. What's fueled your fire this week, then?
Well, a couple of things. Like your last story, which had to remain anonymous, I'm going to tell you a little one first, which is anonymous, and then I'm going to name names in the second one. You put me in touch with somebody and her VA to help her in her project, and we had the call, the first of what I think will be several calls before we do a deal last week. But there was a full and frank exchange of views, which ended up with me saying, I only want to come on board if I can make this better. I don't just want to be handling the remedial work where it all goes wrong. And we had to cut the call off because the three of us had chatted for an hour, but I'm optimistic and upbeat about that. I also feel very strong that if that's not what they want, then it isn't right for me. Not attached to the outcome. That's our new name, isn't it?
Oh, it's a lovely feeling, isn't it? When you do the work and you do the work well, but you're not attached to the outcome.
I tell you what was really interesting about the two of them. One was too nice and one was too scary. Excuse me, I'm going to have a cough. Hang on, I'm going to have to cough, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, dear.
I will edit your cough out, don't you worry.
I'm sorry, Nicola.
It's all right.
And the other one is something I can tell you about, and I've been waiting to tell you about for a long time. But now that it's May, we are in the launch phase for one of the joint ventures I've been talking to you about for an awful long time. It's with a woman that you may know of from High Performing Women. Her name is Victoria Caseborn, and she's had a very successful business over quite a long period of time called the Keepsake. Is it called the Keepsake Association? It might be. It's all about keepsakes, and she teaches mumpreneurs how, because she's a mum of two small children, how to set up a real world business. Actually, it's sort of virtual and real world, and you can do it from home, but the keepsakes are all little footprints of your children, little fingerprints of your children, and little keepsakes and things. I mean, to me it would be, clutter, but things that as a mummy you might want to hold on to. And not just children, it can be dogs and cats and things, memories, and frame them and make them into necklaces and all that kind of thing. That's been her historical business, and like the cleaning biz, she franchised it, licensed it, and I think she's had, I don't know, something like 60 odd clients create businesses like that. But the thing that she and I are going to do together is called the More Mastermind. So taking everything that she's learned from something like 15 years in business, she wants to now teach mostly women, I think exclusively women actually, how to run their own business from home. It's targeted at mothers, not exclusively, but again, the same issue, which is, there's this fantastic opportunity when you leave work to have babies that one day the question arises, am I going to go back to work, or how am I going to earn a living? And Victoria's mission is very much about, starting your own business from home as a mum is the opportunity here. And Victoria only works 3 mornings a week, for instance, and has achieved all of this doing that. She's the one that has inspired me or re-enthused me about this thing of only working 6 weeks before and after half term 3 times a year, so a 36-week year. And on the 6th of June, we begin working with a new intake of women on this. And throughout May, we're going to be marketing it, which is going to lead me to our client challenge of the week in a minute as well.
Oh, okay. Very nice, yes. And that is, that's just got to be a booming market, hasn't it? Helping mums not have to go back to work. And it's only going to get bigger and bigger, that market.
Yeah, I think it is. And actually something that James Schramko touched on as well about, he called it the knowledge, what did he call it? Let me just look that up. One moment.
Knowledge age.
He called it the knowledge worker. Peter Drucker forecast in the 60s, the rise and rise of the knowledge worker. I'm a knowledge worker and you're a knowledge worker. We're selling what we know. Yeah. And these women don't know what we know. So, one's raison d'etre is to help them not have to take 40 years over it like I did, or 15 like Victoria did. It's, if you could, it starts with a 6-week incubator where you end up with, a website and all your social media profiles set up, bang, you can go within 6 weeks. And some people will come to this material already a bit set up, and so the incubator is optional. Do you have to go through that again or not? But you're right, and he touched on that as well. This thing about a job, it's just a nonsense, isn't it? I mean, who's got jobs still?
Well, I think 90% of the population. But
I don't think they have, Nicola. I don't think they have. I think a lot more people than you know have been made redundant or are going to be made redundant, or the computers have done people out of jobs. I think more people are unemployed, and therefore, a mum not going back to work but employing herself, and unemployed people becoming self-employed, or even school leavers going straight into self-employment, is going to be massive.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about this the other night. I can't remember. Sarah was there. Right? We were definitely talking about it, about how the whole industrial revolution. And James talked about it today, didn't he? How the textile age, he called it, the industrial revolution is it was an anomaly. It's a blip. We all used to do jobs that created value for people, and we, generally speaking, went into a trade or a craft, or ended up doing something we were actually good at. And that gave us, real enjoyment and satisfaction and meaning.
They were all self-employed. They, farm workers and people like that, you got paid when there was work available. They were freelancers.
I mean, even sort of the peasants used to probably do what they were good at rather than doing what they there must have been some degree. I mean, you didn't become a blacksmith in the old days if you were rubbish at being a blacksmith. So you ended up being a blacksmith and being good at it and getting meaning out of it and producing something that other people valued. And when you just think of those poor people sitting in those cubicles in those offices, working for someone who they don't know, doing stuff for people that they don't know, and not even, feeling like they're particularly good at it. And so that's really what our raison d'etre is for this podcast, isn't it? It's just to help people move from that to.
Well, I've got something to say on that topic later. Did you see after we interviewed Michael and Kayla yesterday that he posted a picture of his cubicle, which was a balcony, a sunshiny balcony, a clear desk with one laptop on it,
looking out over the most amazing blue sea you could ever imagine. Mexico, his cubicle. Yeah, very fun. We in What's Fueled My Fire this week has been doing these interviews. I mean, we're only about 4 or 5 in, but my God, it's interesting, isn't it?
Well, in a minute, you're going to hear what I've got out of it. I've mentioned it. I alluded to it on the James Schramko because I'm bursting with excitement about it, and I'm going to come back to that in Word of the Week, actually. But what they've made me realise is that we've got it all wrong, and I'm going to stop it there because I don't want to spoil it until we get there.
And I'm terrified about what you're going to say, so this will be.
Well, you don't need to be terrified at all, but we've missed a trick.
I've been helping clients enjoy happier lives for nearly 40 years, during which time I've enjoyed thousands of conversations with human beings in all their infinite variety. It makes a big difference to have someone with whom you can share things you might not have told another living soul, perhaps not even admitted to yourself. A confidant, an ally, a secret weapon. Now, I've created Big Talk so that I can help you create a wonderful life through a series of significant conversations. You talk and I give you a damn good listening to. Our calls will raise your vibration and clear out all that stands between you and what you want. Big Talk will reshape your life, your work, your business, your ideas and your money. We'll talk about anything and everything. Visit judithmorgan.com to find out more about Big Talk and prepare for your magical transformation.
Have you got a client challenge of the week, or shall we?
Yes, I have got I've got a client challenge of the week. Yes, it's for me actually. It's for my new project and for our summit. I want to talk about affiliates. I want to talk about finding affiliates, running a team of affiliates, motivating affiliates, engaging affiliates, and the project with Victoria pays a fantastic £400 affiliate thing, and it's a rolling program, which means every time somebody introduces somebody, they make 400 quid. What do you know about that? I mean, I'm about to learn quite a lot about it. Are we having affiliates for our summit? I think we are, aren't we?
Okay, here's my truth about affiliates, and I hate to dump a big bucket of cold water all over it. I was talking to Minesh about this the other day. Minesh pays £1,000 per introduction, and he has an affiliate manager called Raki, who is a very personable young lady and very diligent in following up. And I know a lot of people who not only make money from having affiliates who sell for them, but who actually are affiliates themselves. And it's an interesting world, the affiliate world. In fact, the mastermind happening in Vegas next week, which I'm not going to, but I could have been, is a room full of top affiliates with big mailing lists. And in fact, James mentioned a guy called Tim Houston, who I've met and he met, who was making, I met him, he was making $30,000 a month from affiliate marketing, i.e. selling other people's products to your mailing list. Yeah. And when James met him, was making $100,000 a month. And I've met lots of people who do that. That is not uncommon in the affiliate world. And it's a whole different business model, but it's very much one that if you're going to go into being an affiliate marketer only, it's a very different way of doing business. You have to be very, very techie, because you have to do a lot of tracking and using bits of kit that are way above me, So that's one of the things I've noticed about those people is they're often computer programmy types. They're mechanics.
They're mechanics, absolutely. They are mechanics, yes.
And it's not very exciting for me as a creator staff to sell other people's products. I find it very difficult to get excited about it, although perhaps for $100,000 a month I could get more excited. But anyway, you have to be systematic, you have to be organised, you have to be very good at research, because to find products, like James found a website building software, and he didn't mention this on the interview, but I know from previously interviewing him, he concentrated on selling just that one thing for 2 years while he built up his income. And there's not many people that could stay that focused on one product. And and I think that was one of the secrets of his success with that, was that he didn't get distracted. But my experience, and that's probably because of my personality traits, is that it's very difficult to get people motivated to sell your stuff for you. And Minesh is tearing his hair out about this, because he knows that he sells his product, which is a gold and silver trading tuition product, and it's a very good one too. With a huge commission like that, he thought that he would have those people with the big mailing list banging his doors down to mail for him. And actually, it's just as hard to do an affiliate product launch. So you have to round up all your affiliates, and you have to have special pages for them. I can show you this afterwards, because someone just contacted me recently. To do a good affiliate launch, you really have to work at it. And because people are apathetic, and 99% of people will do nothing, even with an affiliate manager like Raki chivying you along, even with the incentive of a big payout for something that you don't have to do. I mean, I've had some amazing days. I promoted one of Laura Betterley's social media products and made £3,500 in one weekend in affiliate commission. So it really is possible on both sides to, she obviously did a good job of having a product that I felt I could mail. She made it easy for me to do that. She provided they all provide the copy and all that stuff. but it's hard work, and I'm not convinced that it should be relied on unless you're a particular personality type.
I certainly don't think we want to rely on it. I do think it's an opportunity. I've made quite a lot of affiliate income in the last year myself, and I always used to poo-poo it. Certainly when people write to me and say, will you mail your list? I'm not interested in tiddly little bits. I've done very nicely out of Profit Accumulator, out of Wealth Dynamics, out of something I did via ClickBank. And it's rare for me, but I think if I were to add all that up, probably made, I don't know, somewhere between 2,000 and 5,000 in the last year, which is not to be sniffed at. It pays all your online expenses, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I'm not surprised people find it difficult to sell Minesh's thing, because I like to sell things that I studied or participated in or believed in, and so I wouldn't be able to do it for Minesh's thing just for the £1,000, however tempting that might be. And I also think mechanics are rare. We tend to run with creators, don't we? And we're all much more interested in our own thing than we are in promoting other people's.
Yeah, and that's an ego thing, I think. Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, there's some great courses out there. I mean, Anik Singhal brought out a great course last year that was really aimed at people who wanted to be successful affiliate marketers. I'll tell you who's another really good one is Sarah Starr, and she has got a fantastic course, which I've never managed to get to the end of yet because it's so detail orientated, and that's what you have to be a super affiliate. But with Minesh, you know, he's in a room full of people who've got mailing lists of 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 people, and he supplies all the copy. He supplies 5 fantastically written emails that, you know, I've got in my autoresponder system. And yes, I do make money from that when a tiny minority of people get to that section and they read his emails and then they go and look at his stuff and they buy. It's not about Minesh's product particularly. It's about the overcoming people's lethargy. The
people who are making 30,000 or 100,000 as affiliates are not lethargic. But I tell you what I'm realising, and I want to come back to our summit in a minute. But in terms of my 2 groups, they are rolling products rolling things where I could pay affiliate commission. And I missed a trick because Sue O'Kell helped me with the launch of Club 100, and I paid affiliates for that, but I stopped it when it should have been a rolling program. It should have always been available for people to do that. And with my new one with Victoria, it's a rolling program, so it'll need to be always available, and a nice 400 quid every now and again. I mean, you know, there are people in our team who might only ever make 1 times 400, but that, you know, for a mumpreneur working from home, an extra 400 quid in a month is quite nice, thanks very much. But let's come back to our summit. I can't remember whether we're inviting affiliates or not. Do we abandon that idea? What did we do?
No, we haven't abandoned it. I've actually just created the first affiliate link last weekend because Neil Long wanted to put it in his newsletter. And,
okay.
And you know, so I am obviously we're going to create affiliate links for all the speakers. Whether or not they'll use them is another thing.
Yes. Yeah, I think we should have a think about this, because one of the ideas that Victoria came up with, and it might suit our listeners better than our speakers. I mean, obviously, it would be lovely we promised it to the speakers, and we'll give it to the speakers, and that would be lovely. But we've got 500 downloads a week of this. Surely 50 people in there might like to recommend the summit and make a few bob. Well, Victoria's idea was you have a Facebook group and you have a little community of them, and you help them in there by giving them content to enable them to do that.
Yeah, and we're creating content all the time, but it's you have to be very organised, and it's not one of my skill sets.
No, but I'm organised. And I also like helping people make money. So I think there's an opportunity here. You can, well, as with everything, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. There's an opportunity here. We can offer it, and if people want it, that's great. And if they don't, that's great.
Okay, I will put if you go to ownitthesummit.com/affiliates. I will put a sign up. You have to sign up to become an affiliate, and I will put that form in on that page, and then we will talk afterwards about some sort of affiliate marketing thing, because it sucks the life out of my heart thinking about it.
But you don't have to. You see, you always naturally assume you've got to do everything. You don't have to do everything. I'm excited about this, and I'm here, and I'm quite happy to take this on because I love working with teams, and all this is motivating a team.
Yeah, but the other thing, okay, so here's it. I'm finding something very negative about this. I am aware of that. It is people are only going to make money from being an affiliate if they have a mailing list that is responsive or if they're willing to pay for traffic. And that was the big secret that nobody knew about affiliate marketing in the early days, was that people like Tim and Rich and everyone else who was making money were willing to pay for traffic. And it's a really lovely thing, because if you can, and that's what Anik's course taught, is if you can get an affiliate link for a product, ideally a recurring product, and you can drive traffic for cheaper than you earn when a percentage of that traffic buys, you've got a repeatable, scalable business model. And that's what James Schramko realized very, very early on.
Yes, and I'm not talking about that, and that is out there for those people, and that's great. But there's an alternative opportunity, and that's what I've done in the last year, where smaller people can make small sums of money that add up to be meaningful by recommending stuff that they like. They are just as valuable to our summit business and Victoria's more mastermind than as the big ones.
Okay, so this is a client challenge week that's throwing up my challenges around this, because I've had various affiliate offers in my email follow-up sequence and on the sides of my blog, and I've mentioned many times in my newsletter that goes out, and I have very rarely made any money from those affiliate promotions. So if I can't make that work, I have this cynicism that anyone else is going to. And
I think it depends what one is promoting. Okay, yeah. So I think that there's a lot of goodwill around our podcast, and there are some people here who will be happy to make some money. And the same with Victoria. She started with a list of people who she knew would be happy to promote her new project. And that's not the same thing as you're talking about, where people make 30,000 and 100,000 a year from being professional mechanic affiliate marketers. And really it's closer to, but not very close to, the gorgeous business model operated by your man. Newsletter every week. All he does is recommend stuff. Brit, you come to London for his internet marketing. Used to come to London for his internet marketing get-togethers. The British man, Martin Avis.
Oh yes, Martin Avis. Yeah,
that's all he does. He sends out a newsletter at least once a week, if not more often, 2 or 3 times a week, recommending stuff that he's actually used. People trust his recommendations and they buy. That's his entire business model.
Well, no, that's not fair. It was his originally entire business model, but then he also then started creating his own products and makes more money from that now than the affiliates. But that's a natural progression for an affiliate marketer. Even Tim has moved into that now, building a list and creating his own products.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a great start for people. It really is. I know lots of people who got started with Anik and Sarah's stuff, and people who would never create their own product in a million years.
Well, I said to you at some point in the last year, guess what? I've made my first affiliate income via ClickBank, and what I'm thinking here is there's a chance for us to help people who will be helping us to make their first ever online piece of affiliate income.
Oh, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. Well, let's facilitate that. Yeah, we'll facilitate that. I can do the tech, and you can do the.
I think that would be lovely. You see, I tell you what's good about that, because you've always said this. What's good about that is the first time you make any money like that online that's free, quote unquote, it opens up your entire horizons about what's possible.
It does. Yeah, I mean, even James remembers his first $45, doesn't he?
Yes. Yes, and somebody else yesterday's couple remembered their first money online as well.
Yeah, it's a marvellous thing. I remember my first affiliate check from ClickBank, £150. The only thing was I had to walk around the bank, fill in several forms because it was in dollars, and my bank still make me walk around to pay my affiliate checks. It's hilarious.
Well, the good news was I got an email from Amazon yesterday. I mean, they've been paying me online for some time, but they used to insist on checks, and now even Amazon are phasing out checks for your sales on Kindle, which is great news. So those American checks, you really don't want them, because by the time you've banked them, it takes them a month to process it, and all your profits have been swallowed up in the charges.
Yeah, not to mention the time you spend walking around the bank. This will be an interesting one, and it will be. We'll have to move it into our project updates because, especially as we feel so differently about it. So it will be an interesting.
Well, I don't feel all that differently from you. I think what I am is optimistic, and I'm open to experimenting. And I think it would be lovely if we could help a handful of our listeners make their first ever commission online.
Yeah, especially as we are going to have a recurring product. So that would be...
Well, they'll be able to buy this product forever. They'll be able to sell it forever, won't they?
Yeah, that's right. And every year it will just get better and better if we do it again.
Right. Yeah.
We won't commit to that now.
No, we haven't committed to that yet. But the actual product from this could sell forever. That's my point. It doesn't need to be next year's as well.
Yeah, good.
I would like a little widget-shaped banner, please.
Well, yes, I can get a graphic designer onto that. A widget-shaped. Yeah. So for a sidebar kind of thing, you're talking.
Yes, sidebar, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Widget-shaped banner. She makes her first and only note of the month.
Now, I could whiz on to word of the week, which is my exciting bit.
Yes, you could. Yes, go on then.
If you're ready. Are you ready?
Well, I'm braced, put it that way.
Well, it's not that bad, honestly. My word of the week is life. Because this is what I'm learning from the interviews. We've only done 5 out of 20 so far, but the recurring thing is the quality of their lives, all of the people we've spoken to, the quality of their lives is paramount. And our podcast is called Your Business and Your Life. We've mostly talked about business. We've completely neglected life, apart from occasionally. So I think that going forward, we should give them equal weighting. Well, your business and your life. Own it, your business and your life. That's what they're all doing. They're owning their lives.
Yeah, I agree. And the reason for that is that you don't generally go out of your house very often. And I generally have had my head down building a business. So we haven't had much.
Well, no, I don't think it's that. I think it's that you more than me, are absolutely obsessed by business. You're obsessed by business. I'm very, very interested in it. And your business is your life to the extent that you love it so much. It's what you choose to do on your day's holidays. And sometimes you say to me, I said, 3 days off, lovely. And you go, what on earth do you do? And I go, I think. What did James Franco say this morning?
Yeah.
Got to make time for thinking. Yeah. And Michael Neal gave me an expression a long time ago, such and such and such and such as part of your wonderful life. And what's really important to me is that my clients have a wonderful life and that their business supports that. And all our interviewees have businesses that support. We talk about lifestyle. They've designed their lives, and the recurring themes are about lifestyle design. These people, they've got the weighting that we intended, their business and their lives. They've got the weighting right. They've got the business supporting their lives, which is what Michael Gerber always said, why most small businesses don't work and what to do about it. It's because it eats you alive. And these people are not being eaten alive anymore. They've got loads of leisure time within every day to do the things that are important to them once you've got a little buffer. And the funny thing is, and you'll certainly reach this stage in your business now, and I have this conversation more and more with clients, which is, it's actually easier to sell stuff at higher ticket prices than it is grubbing about at the lower levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you can sell more expensive stuff, you can have a better life because you've got a big enough budget to do your best work. It doesn't swallow you whole. What I see is people getting more and more confident in their businesses enough to charge more for their stuff. And then you can just sort of breathe a sigh of relief because somebody's paying you what you're really worth. And that frees up time, ironically.
Yeah, absolutely. And good cash flow management as well is a big part of that. So, charging well for delivering good value and then managing that money well, because a lot of people don't run their cash flows. I know you do because you're an accountant. I do because I was taught it. But a lot of people don't have good cash flow management, and that means that they always feel that the money's going to run out, and they don't see that they've got a buffer for the next 3 months, 6 months, 10, 12 months, whatever. So,
So you've taken it straight back to, darling, you've taken it straight back to business, which you always will do. And I am going to be increasingly your nemesis. I'm going to make it all about having a wonderful life.
I feel quite terrified by this idea because I love...
Are you looking at our crib sheet? What does it say on the top? Own it, your business and your life. They've got to be 50-50. That's what these people are teaching us in the summit calls.
Yeah. And I think you'll have to be the life bit because I
will be. I'm volunteering to be the life bit. Okay, I'm volunteering to be the life bit because I'm about to start having a life.
Yes.
And
Well,
that's going to be fascinating to me. And I want my clients to have a life. So when they tell me, they haven't done any work over half term, I go, it's only a week. You've got to have a life. You've got to have balance. And I think we've in seeking to give value to our listeners, we've weighted it in favour of business. And if I'm learning anything from these people, it's that the life bit is more equally important, if not more so. So my word of the week is life.
Well, that's very, very scary. And it's funny, isn't it? Because we do know some people that, I mean, all of the people we've interviewed have worked their asses off to get to the point where they've got the financial cushion, and that's when their attention has turned to designing the ideal life. And a lot of people, I think that's why we focus on business a lot in this, because a lot of people aren't there yet. But I think your point is that and I certainly believe this. I mean, I even bought the domain name Success Follows Happiness, because I do believe that it's no point chasing success in order to be happy. I think you become more successful as you learn to be happy in the moment and with what you've got and grateful. I totally believe that, because you give off very different vibes when you're like that. And that does give you...
I think it's the balance. And he said it this morning, Shramko spends a lot of time thinking and visioning about how he wants his life to be. And that makes all the difference.
Yeah. I did start to get a glimpse of a life I would love with all the travelling I did early in the year. And obviously that's limited by some degree at the moment by the kids still being not quite young, but they are becoming adults. And Phoebe's off to Bali for a month, and then she's off to Ibiza for a couple of weeks, and that'll be a 6-week period where I won't see her at all. And she's the one who's always round here. Nelson pops in 2 or 3 times a week on his way past somewhere. So I think as the children become less dependent emotionally, perhaps is the word, I will start to think about what kind of a life I want. And travel definitely features in it. And that's the recurring theme for a lot of our interviewees as well, isn't it? They absolutely get so much out of travelling.
Well, I did write this down yesterday, your biz, brackets NC, and your life, brackets me. So don't worry too much, darling. I'll do the life bit, okay?
It's going to be very challenging for me personally to talk about this.
I don't think your children are emotionally dependent. I think they love you and they choose to be with you. That's not a dependency, it's a choice.
Yeah, but I also don't feel I can whip myself away from them and go anywhere for any length.
And I don't think you would want to yet. I don't think a life means leaving home necessarily. I think it means just having more fun and balance where you are. And you're in a very particular situation emotionally at the moment. It's probably not the right time for you even to be thinking about this, but it is for me.
Yeah, because you're doing it.
Yeah, because I've got no choice, coming ready or not. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and yes, you're right. I spent so long, the last 20 years, with my focus being on the fact that one day I want to go and live in Greece. That was my whole goal. My whole bring the kids up, be with the kids as much as possible, and then go and retire to Greece. And I think I need to perhaps rethink that goal and do what James does and have a lot more visioning of different possibilities for different kinds of travel rather than just going and
James travels a bit mainly for the reasons that you would, which is he's either attending events or running events, but mostly he lives at home quite near where he always did, having lovely fun in his own beach. Now the people we spoke to yesterday travel incessantly, and I wouldn't want to travel incessantly, and they were quite insistent that unless you did, you couldn't call yourself a digital nomad. I'm not sure that's true, actually, but I certainly don't want to travel incessantly. I'm a Taurian and my home is very important to me, and I want to put down roots and I want to make sure the Wi-Fi works. I couldn't bear what they put themselves through a new place every fortnight. I would find that completely draining.
Yeah. Well, they are doing it 5-star, Judith. It's not as hard as it sounds. It's not like going
but I think that I think that's the point about this. They love it like that, and I would find it draining. And the point is, there's no... And James Franco did make this point, your life, my life, his life. We can't, we want what we want. We don't want what other people want. And working out what you want and getting it. And then either discovering it's what you always hoped it was, or it isn't. And you move on either physically or geographically or emotionally. It's quite hard. I'm loath to say that, but trying to work out what you want, it seems, is a process from Nicola Bird onwards, is a process of stripping away extraneous stuff. So Schramko had sold businesses, reduced the team, simplification. What did they say yesterday? I'll find the words. They had 3 words yesterday for, hang on, you talk a bit while I'm looking up this lingo. It's all about simplification, stripping away. Let me just find here we go. Automate, delegate, eliminate was the words yesterday. They're all, in order to get the lives they want, they're simplifying everything, getting rid of stuff and getting rid of people and getting rid of businesses, selling businesses, simplifying.
Yeah. I think that you touched on it there, that why it's quite difficult for a lot of people. It's a fact that, and for me as well, obviously because there's been a big change recently as well, but people are scared to think about what they want. And because I always thought I wanted to retire abroad, that was my thing, that, whenever I visioned or, meditated or whatever, that was it. And perhaps it isn't now. So now I've got to think what I do want, and think what you do want is actually pretty scary, because
I agree. I agree. I agree with you. My adventure at 61 is much scarier than if I'd done it at 51 or 41.
Yeah, and also you have to think about who you want to be in that with you, or would you be happy if you never met? We know it's going to happen. You're going to go and meet new friends, and whatever you want can happen. We know that, but it can only happen once you've decided you want it. And
well, I think the other thing is you've got to be prepared to go there. And somebody said it yesterday, I think. You've got to be prepared to go there and discover it's not what you want and move on again. I mean, the reason I've been happy in St. Martin in the 3 Decembers I've been there is because I'm on holiday. I won't be on holiday this time. I'll be working. Will it be as great? Will I have enough time to be in the sun and the swimming pool? And if I haven't, what's the point in being there? I think you've got to be prepared to refine. I don't want to say work on, but, refine what you want all the time and admit. I think they said it yesterday. Admit if it's not right and try something else.
Yeah, and that is the scary thing, because if you put all this effort into visioning your future and your ultimate goals, and then they have to change, that's quite change is frightening for people, isn't it?
I think we could make little daily changes at home every day in the way we act and think, and we'd probably find our peace and quiet exactly where we are.
Yeah. Good point. Well, my word of the week is exhilarated, and I think anyone listening to this podcast will realise that these interviews are exhilarating us because we are achieving our goal, which is to get beyond the laptop lifestyle, and we really are finding out what makes it work for people, what they've done to get there, and it's fantastic. I'm exhilarated by the whole process. Cool. Project update.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I'm going to whiz through a little audit here. We've booked 17 speakers. We've recorded 5 of them. I've done blogs about the first 2, and I will do 3 more this Friday, subject to your arrangements. We've got 62 out of 100 sponsors in our Thunderclap with 219,000. We really need a bit more on that. We need to push on the Thunderclap in the next week, Nicola. Yeah. And I've devised, and I'm just waiting for you to sign off on it, a blog competition where there'll be prizes for people blogging about their own dream of being beyond the laptop.
Oh, well, I might get involved in that now.
Well, if you wouldn't mind having a look at the back end, I've written the post and I'm just waiting for your sign off on it before I publicise it. But we need to have a chat about our marketing plan for the Summit, including the blog comp and the affiliate thing.
Yeah, especially now my social media manager's retired. So
yes.
So you're right. We need a plan, and I'm not very good at plans, so we'll work on that afterwards.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I was saying we've been doing the calls. I don't think we've got any more really early morning ones, have we?
No, I've steered away from the early mornings, actually. It's quite a funny thing. I was saying to you earlier that Australia, which is 11 hours ahead, is that right? Is it 9 or 11? I can't remember.
Depending on where they are.
Yeah, they're choosing between them whether we get up early or we stay up late, which is quite funny. So the different personalities, some people are morning people, some people would rather speak to us after they've done their business day. It's not the most, it is a bit challenging. I've got a client in New Zealand and I've realised she is, I think, at times, hang on, I've written this down here. She's 11 hours ahead and when I move to St Martin, which is 4 hours behind, we'll be 15 hours apart. That gives us a very small window in which to speak to one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any time?
Well, I was trying to plan it on a bit of paper yesterday. Yes, there's one time. There is, if I do it at, say, 8 o'clock at night in England, it'll be 7 o'clock the next morning for her. And if I do it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in St Martin, it'll be 7 o'clock in the morning for her. I've got quite a complicated chart here that goes UK, because that's me.
Yeah.
I've got clients in Spain, France and Austria, which is 1 hour ahead, and I'm about to move 1 hour ahead. St Martin is 4 to 5 hours behind. One of my American clients is 7 hours behind, and my New Zealand client is 11 hours ahead. I was trying to work out yesterday what time I've got to move my coaching slots to, if at all, and what time I've got to move my group calls to, if at all, with the minimum disruption that we're all still compos mentis. And as yesterday's guest said, and James said it today as well, sometimes when you're the mover, you have to do it at unsociable hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other interesting thing that both of them said was that I know that James only has 1 day a week scheduled for calls. And also the Michael and Kayla yesterday said that they have Mondays.
They do Mondays. And I think that's a good day for their clients, Mondays, because it's about cracking on with the week.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's another thing to think about, perhaps, is moving everything into less.
I don't want to. I've already got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday afternoon, and Saturday mornings for my clients, and I've got group calls on every weekday. I want there to be minimum disruption for them when I move.
Yeah, cool. Well, these are all parts of the challenges of becoming a laptop lifestyle-y.
So that's a good expression. The laptop lifestyle-y.
It's no mad whether you're moving every 2 weeks or not. Yeah, so what's impressed this week then?
Oh, I found a new television programme called Billions.
Oh, okay. What's that then?
It's on Sky, and it was on Sky between January and April, so I'm streaming it, obviously. It's got Damian Lewis in it as a hedge fund owner in New York. It's got gorgeous locations of New York City and the Hamptons. Paul Giamatti, who's a fabulous actor, is the government chasing him to catch up with whether or not he's breaking the rules to do so well. And it's got fantastic, powerful women in it as well. Both of them have wives who are very powerful. And the lawyer government Paul Giamatti character's wife works for the hedge fund manager as their in-house shrink/coach. And the opening scene in the open episode, this deeply glamorous woman in a sort of bodycon frock with a zip all the way up the back was telling his staff, exactly what I tell my clients. And she's paid gazillions to do that by a hedge fund. I thought, oh, I've missed a trick here. But it's glamorous. It's finished. It was only 12 episodes, and I'm on 10 out of 12. And I love a new sort of you said last week your word was immersion, I think. I love to immerse myself in 12 episodes that you can watch over 3 or 4 days, over the bank holiday weekend. What happened was, coming away from the hospital visiting, I saw it on a poster on the side of the road, Damien and this guy, Paul Giamatti, and I thought, oh, God, I need to see that. Got home, Googled it, found it, and have been watching it ever since Sunday.
Brilliant. Well, I've got. I'm totally immersing myself in the island USA, which is interesting because if you've watched the last series of the British Island, you would have been, I'm sure, as frustrated as we were. We were shouting at the telly at some points because they took so long to get off their asses and go and do something. It was absolutely frightening. They waited till literally day 28. It might have been clever editing, but really they really were exasperating. Whereas the Americans, they dropped 12 good American men and true off the boat, and by day one they'd killed a snake, built a fire and made a shelter, because of course all the Americans are taken out into the woods hunting by their fathers, were very young children, and frightening as that is itself, but they were really much more impressive, that's for sure. That's not what I was impressed by this week though, although I have been immersing myself in it. James's story about getting robbed and simplifying his life even further than it was, the fact that he I
thought that was a marvellous thing, actually, because he lost everything in America, everything except his flip-flops and his surfboard. That's pretty much it. They even even took the key to the car or something. He was literally, and he got nothing. He got no wallet, no watch, no way of and when he went home and replaced it, he didn't replace it all. So it was an opportunity to simplify still further.
I know, and it's got to be any digital nomad's sort of fear, isn't it, that their backpack with all their stuff would be taken. So I found it very moving, actually. I've heard him tell that story in a funny way before, but he tells it very differently for us today. And I did, exactly like you. He was using Evernote and Dropbox and Drive, and he's got that down to just Drive now. So there's always, as you say, it's an ongoing process, isn't it? You've been at it for several years now, paring your life down, and even when you get down to a backpack, apparently it can be pared even further.
Well, he didn't seem particularly bothered about the loss of his computer, but when Dan, who you've met once, who was Mitzi's dad and my original computer man, who's handed it over to Eric now, but when Dan set me up back in before the first trip to St Martin, hang on a minute, I had a tiny little Sony. It was 2006. He set me up to have the situation where if the computer was stolen or lost, all I would need to do is buy another one, and then it would all be downloaded. It was virtual. Yeah. And what happened on the first night we were there was I took the computer out in a bag, put the bag down, I didn't realise that the zip was open and that the bag fell towards the water. I was so lucky I could wake up with the sweats about that now. But of course I didn't need to worry. That's the point. The hardware that you have is only the gateway to everything, which is online.
Yeah, but still people insist on doing things on. I mean, I see clients and look over their shoulder and think, oh my God, they've got it all on their computer.
I did love how that James was stressed by the same thing that I am when I look at your desktop, which is all of those things open at the bottom. He and I were quite similar. Did you notice all that thinking time and stressed by your icons? And he and I were twin souls, James and me.
I don't know why I was stressed by it. Did you notice me surreptitiously closing stuff after he mentioned it?
No, I didn't. How funny.
I always forget because I'm scared to run it just on audio alone, these webinars. I like to run it with video as well. But I like to have something like we're looking at today, which is just a picture because that keeps...
A pretty picture, yeah.
But I always forget people can see your icons and your tabs at the top of the screen. Lucky I haven't been looking at anything I shouldn't, eh? Good stuff. All right, well, that's another episode in the bag, as it were. You said we've reached a milestone, haven't we?
Well, we have. Today is number 78, which is a year and a half. 52 plus 26 is 78. We've done 18 months.
Awesome. There, who'd have thought it? And weekly episodes, and we've stuck to those, which is amazing.
More than that, it's led to our latest excitement.
Absolutely. And it's got to be having some impact on the iTunes charts. So can I make my customary appeal for reviews? If you haven't reviewed us yet, if you go to iTunes and do that, that'd be absolutely marvellous.
And one more thing, Nicola, it's only 8:15 in the morning. We've done 2 podcasts already.
Yeah, and minimum editing required for the first one, a little bit of editing required for the second one, so I should have...
Yeah, I'm so sorry, because I had a coughing fit in the middle, didn't I?
Don't worry. I'll knock it out the park by 9 o'clock and you'll have...
All right, babe.
To listen to.
Okay. Yeah, see you soon. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.